are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai right here live in studio with you in afternoon drive time where I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the socials at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, D-R-N-I-I-Q. And there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app if you haven't already. That way you get to take us with you everywhere you go. And last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast powered by KBLA Talk 1580. That way you won't miss some of our most memorable conversations. All right. We've got a little bit of everything for you today. The kind of day where the news makes you want to laugh, makes you want to cry, makes you want to call your city council member. Sometimes in the same segment. We've got a $40 trillion national debt milestone. That's right, $40 trillion with a T. An election that just got a lot less close than it looked yesterday. A judge getting bounced off a case that had the whole country in its feelings. And because LA never met a soap opera it didn't want a piece of, the Lakers. Yes, the actual Lakers, Jeannie Buss, versus her own sibling rivalry on a $12.5 billion stage. But we're also going to sit with something heavier. Altadena. 1 year plus out from the Eaton Fire, and the fight for that community's soul is still very much alive. And today we've got the man who lived it, the man who lost his sister to it, and is now putting it on film so nobody forgets. Plus, Danielle Brooks and Walter Thompson Hernandez. We caught up with them to talk about If I Go, Will They Miss Me? It's a film that's getting a lot of Oscar buzz. Yeah, Oscar buzz whispers are already beginning. We're going to talk to them about that. There you have it. Now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And let's start in Washington, because there's a new poll out, and it tells a story the White House really didn't want told this close to the midterms. You see, the Trump administration has spent the last few months trying to quiet down its mass deportation campaign, pulling ICE out of the spotlight. Fewer of those splashy raids in blue cities, less of the greatest hits reel of confrontations with protesters. Behind the scenes, they even swapped out Kristi Noem as DHS secretary for Markwayne Mullin, who's been publicly walking back some of her signature moves. And so here's the problem for them. It's not working. A new political poll published just this week shows that efforts to quiet things down, they haven't shifted public opinion. In fact, 51% of Americans say the deportation campaign is too aggressive, and this is the number that should worry Republican strategists. Nearly a quarter of Trump's own 2024 voters agree with that. And it's not just diehard MAGA peeling off. It's among Trump voters who don't identify as MAGA. That number jumps to 31%, calling it too aggressive, compared to just 15% of MAGA-identified voters. That's a real crack in the coalition. Now, this poll comes against a backdrop that matters. Earlier this year, outrage erupted after federal agents killed 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis. Y'all remember them? Alex Preddy and Renee Good. And that contributed to Kristi Noem being pushed out. That's not an ancient story. That's this year. And a majority, 52%, now say that ICE's presence in American cities makes those communities less safe. Not more, less. Versus 33% who say safer. So here's the political reality. Less than 90 days from the midterms, immigration, which was supposed to be a slam dunk Republican advantage, it's starting to look like a liability. Not because people have changed their minds about border security in the abstract, but because they've watched how this has actually played out in their neighborhoods. And a lot of them don't like what they saw. Sticking with accountability, this next one is local, and it's a win for anybody who's ever believed that doing the right thing shouldn't cost you your freedom. LAPD officer Daniel Flores secretly recorded 122 conversations of fellow officers making racist, sexist, and homophobic remarks. And for exposing misconduct, LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman had originally charged Flores with, get this, 16 felonies, one for every officer he recorded without consent, each carrying up to 13 years in prison. Well, of course, that set off a real uproar, on our airwaves included. And this week, guess what happened? Hochman announced that he's reducing all 16 felonies down to misdemeanors, taking prison time off the table entirely. Flores now has a pathway to judicial diversion, meaning if he stays clean for a year, the charges could eventually be dismissed altogether. Now, you may wonder why the change of heart. Hochman said that he'd heard from community members and elected officials, including Mayor Karen Bass, our very own Dr. Melina Abdullah of Black Lives Matter LA, and Council Member Hugo Soto Martinez, all of which were worried about the chilling effects this case could have on future whistleblowers. And in his words, the way we charged the case was not making the message clear. And so here's the thing worth sitting with. Flores, who was also found guilty in a separate internal LAPD investigation and suspended without pay. So, this isn't a story about a guy who did nothing wrong. It's a story about proportionality, about whether the system protects people who blow the whistle on bigotry or punishes them right alongside the people who are doing the bigoting. Now, let's go global for a moment because this story deserves more attention than it's getting. The Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo has now passed 5,000 cases, 5,021 to be exact, with over 2,300 deaths as of this past Sunday. And here's the number that should stop you. This outbreak is spreading faster than any Ebola outbreak in recorded history, about 3 times faster than the devastating 2014 to 2016 West Africa outbreak, which was the deadliest ever recorded with more than 11,000 deaths. This is hitting one of the most challenging regions imaginable, Eastern Congo, where insecurity, mass displacement, and constant population movement are making contact tracing nearly impossible. Part of the problem is scientific. There's no approved vaccine or treatment yet for the specific strain responsible, and part of it is heartbreakingly human. Health workers themselves have become targets of violence in the region, which slows the response even further. And so a reminder, this is a global story, but it's also a story about which crisis gets global attention and resources and which one gets a fraction of the urgency that they deserve. Back at home here in LA, the LA mayoral race is heavy on a lot of people's mind. Nithya Raman, the city council member who's now facing incumbent Mayor Karen Bass, is in November, after a surprisingly strong primary finish, is reportedly bringing on a political strategy operation that ties to the Graham Plattner campaign in Maine. That name rings a bell. It's because Plattner's Senate campaign in Maine had a rough year. Multiple senior advisors and senior staffers resigned in quick succession, and the campaign has been dealing with fallout from old social media posts. So the read here isn't that Raman did something wrong. It's a fair question, and it's a fair question progressive strategists are going to be asking. Does bringing on people connected to a campaign that's had that much public turbulence help or hurt a candidate trying to position herself as a serious, stable alternative to a sitting mayor? We'll keep tracking this one for more details, but when we come forward, we're going to Altadena, a community that lost everything in the Eaton Fire, and a man who lost his sister and his home on the very same night, and turned that grief into a documentary. And a fight for his town's future. Zaire Calvin joins us when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and before we bring our guest in, just a little context for anybody who needs it. The Eaton Fire tore through Altadena in January 2025. For folks that are listening in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, for that matter, a community that for generations represented something rare and precious, one of the first places in Los Angeles County where Black families could actually build generational wealth through home ownership at a time when redlining locked them out almost everywhere else. And, the fire, it didn't just take houses. It took at least 16 lives. One of those lives was 59-year-old Evelyn McClendon, the sister of our next guest. We speak her name. And joining us now, community leader, football coach, co-producer of the new documentary, Altadena Rising from the Ashes, which had premiered at the American Black Film Festival. I had a chance to see it in Miami. I encourage folks to check it out. Zaire Calvin joins us. Welcome to A More Perfect Union, brother.
Thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. We can hear you loud and clear. Zaire, for the people who haven't followed this closely, walk us through that night and what do you want people to understand about what your family went through?
It was so devastating. I mean, having a fire come and you have no warning or understanding that it could actually reach your home. What I want everyone to know is my community had no idea that the fire would move as fast as it did, and to understand that we didn't get burnt down traditionally as a fire would burn off of a mountain. So that night, thinking that we would be going back home, watching the fire burn up the hill. Basically, the fire, it was fireballs that shot off the mountain with 100-mile-per-hour winds that eventually burned down 5 homes that I had on 2 properties. And with that, my sister wasn't able to make it out. I thought my son and my sister had left, but she was not able to make it out. And it's just been devastating to the whole community because I have friends whose grandmother didn't make it out. I have friends whose mom didn't make it out. So our community has just been devastated by this fire.
It certainly has. And again, we express our sincere condolences, for your loss and for all the loss that you've experienced and so many families in Altadena continue to experience. You've said that you've had to be numb to keep functioning. A year and a half later, is that still true? Has anything shifted for you?
No, it's still a fight. I mean, it's actually more of a fight now because we're fighting on all fronts. Like, we're fighting insurance who's denied us and is not giving us payouts for our insurance. On top of not giving us payouts, they're denying and delaying the whole process to frustrate us even more. So we're fighting against insurance. In the beginning, we were fighting against land developers who were coming in and trying to literally take our land while our properties were still on fire. So we're fighting against that. And now we're fighting against the developers. The same ones are now building split lot units and trying to gentrify our community. We're fighting against every entity that you could think of to get back. Right now, one of the biggest things is Gavin Newsom, and if they're going to cap our funds that can come in, because Edison has been found responsible for the fires that killed 19 lives, including my sister. And now the electric company Edison is trying to make a backdoor deal to cap the funds that we can get for compensation and trying to put a monetary number on death and murder and everything that's gone on. So when I say we're fighting from all fronts, it's a struggle. And there's people still living, still homeless. There's people, ALEs, which is your alternative living expense, are running out now. So insurance, all that is running out. So you don't have places to live if you're not back in your home and building. We're still in dire straits in the community. People are building back without having the money to build back. 85% of the community is $500,000 short of what they need to build back.
Mm.
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask you on that point, Zaire, what's the one policy fix that, whether it's on the county, state, insurance regulation level, whatever, what's the one policy fix that would actually move the needle for families that are still stuck? We know that we're just, months away from the November election. There are folks running for insurance commissioner of California. What's the one policy fix we should be pushing for and listening for?
The biggest one is so many. I would in insurance is to make sure that the insurance companies are properly insuring people and the payouts are equitable to the rebuilds if you have a total loss. So to reconstruct the whole insurance industry would help, because even our water companies were underinsured. I say the biggest one is Gavin Newsom, who can help right now. So if we're asking what can help right now, policy-wise, Gavin Newsom making sure that the $2.5 billion that he allocated to Altadena and Eaton, that he used some of that money to help stabilize, since Edison won't, even more straight to the community. That would be big. And to make sure that he does not partner with the utilities for another bailout after they've committed all these, basically murders and destroy communities, not to give them a bailout, because they're already bailed out. They already have the fund that they're using.
When we come forward, Zaire, I want to talk to you just a little bit more about your documentary that got a lot of rave reviews at the American Black Film Festival in Miami. I was really proud to be in the mix and have a chance to see it as it premiered there. And then also, I want to talk to you about the community and what comes next. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Zaire Calvin on the future of Altadena when we come forward.